The ultimate way how to hide away the dirty details of class methods and to just make available the declaration of a class is a bit more complicated than the way we've been doing it until now, everything together inside of one file, the very same file that has the main function, everything inside basically of this file over here, tutorial.cpp, which is the main source file that is going to be compiled. The ultimate way to do it is basically something like this. You would like to have a separate file for the declaration of the class and another file for the definition of the class's functions and stuff. So go ahead and figure out how exactly do you add a new file to your compiler's project program over here, and make sure that that file will be considered part of the project. Here in Microsoft Visual Studio, there's a few ways to do that. I could either go over here and add a new file or a new item or something, or I could just click on this button over here, which is adding a new item. And over here, as you see, there are many different types of files which you could add to your Visual Studio project. The one we are going to be looking at right now is the one that's called the header file, which finishes with .h. And over here I'm going to give it a name. I will call this the soldier.h file. I'm going to click add. So right now I got a brand new file in my project over here called soldier.h. You see it right over here, and there we go. The truth is you can manually open up the directory, the folder, and create your own file manually by yourself by typing it up, the name of the file soldier.h, and then somehow making it part of our project. So once you figured out how to add a header file to your project, you should be able to open it up just like this and see the very beautiful and clean empty inside. Right now over here, as you see, I have two different files open, the tutorial.cpp, which is we were working the whole time before, and now we opened up another file called soldier.h. Now I'm going to go over here to the declaration of the soldier class, and I'm going to cut it out of here and go over to the soldier.h file and paste it all inside over here. As you remember from the wrap videos, don't remember if it was wrap 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 at video number 17, I spoke about the difference of header files and source files. But to say it again very shortly, header files are the files in which you would declare a whole bunch of declarations and basically prepare and introduce a whole bunch of stuff which you may need in your program, and you would probably not have any definitions, just declarations. Like over here I am declaring the soldier class and I am just making declarations of these methods over here without defining them. Now if you'd like, you can go ahead and put right over here, right after this declaration, you can go ahead and paste over here the whole entire definition of all of the methods we declared over here, and that already would be a nice way of organizing stuff, not just dumping everything in the main CPP file, but separating things in different files like this one over here. But that's again not the ultimate way of hiding away the details of the class according to object-oriented programming. What we are going to do now is create another file. This time it's going to be a .cpp file, which is not a header file but a C++ source code file, and we're going to call this soldier. So the file's name is going to be soldier.cpp, and right now I'm adding that file. So as you see now I have three files open: the main .cpp file, a header file called soldier, and a source file called soldier. And as you see, these were automatically added to my project. Here is the header file and here is a source file. I explained at wrap video number 17 that header files don't really get compiled. Only .cpp files get compiled. I spoke about how the compiler turns a .cpp file into an object file, and then a different .cpp file into another object file, and then the linker goes ahead and links all of the object files together to make our .exe program. So only .cpp files are compiled. The only way which you can get a header file to be compiled is if you would include that header inside of a source file. Like right over here in our source file, our main source file, we include different header files like stdafx and iostream and stuff like that. Now here in the soldier.cpp file is where we want to put the so-called dirty details, the definition of all of the member functions of the soldier class. So I'm going to go ahead to our main CPP file and I'm going to cut out all of the definitions over here, cut them all out and bring them over to the soldier.cpp file. So right now our main CPP file is a lot cleaner. All that it has right now is just the main function and nothing else. Our soldier.h file has the declaration of the class, and our soldier.cpp file has the definition of the class. So let's try to get a grasp at what's going on over here. The compiler is going to open tutorial.cpp over here and is going to compile everything, and afterwards, or maybe before, because there's probably no order over here, the compiler is going to try and compile this CPP file over here. And as our compiler comes over here and reads the word soldier, the compiler will complain, oops, excuse me, what in the world is a soldier? Soldier is not a C++ keyword or anything that we declared from before. I need an explanation of what soldier is. And you're going to get a whole bunch of compiler errors because we don't know what these functions are. We never had any declaration of what soldier is. Not over here, not over here, not over here. Nothing's going to work. What we need to do is include the header file of the declaration of the soldier class right over here at the beginning of the source file that we are compiling. And as we learned that when the compiler sees this command over here, the compiler will look for a file called soldier.h and it will try to go ahead and compile that. Actually, what really happens is the compiler will copy all of the text that's inside of the header file and paste it right over here. But that all happens behind the scenes. We don't really care about that because for us, everything over here stays in the header file and everything over here stays in the CPP file. Nothing moves around. So you could think of it like over here we're just telling the compiler to please take a break and jump over to this file and just compile everything that's here before you continue. Once the compiler compiled the header file, at that point we already know in our source file what the soldier class is, because it's as if we typed all of this code right over here. So now the compiler will understand what is the soldier constructor definition over here, and what is the attack definition over here, and the heal definition over here, and so everything compiles fine. And what we gained in the matter is that we successfully separated declaration from definition, which is the goal of object-oriented programming. The declaration over here is something like the instruction manual of how and what is a soldier class and how to use it and what does it have. And that's all a programmer needs to know about a class. And the details about how exactly these things works are hidden away in a different file, which is all these definitions in the source file over here. So that's why we like to have this separated in two different files, a header for the declaration and a source file for the definition. So again, when the compiler will compile the source files, because the source files is the only thing that the compiler compiles, the first thing that it'll do is, well, actually the only thing that it does really is just read the source file and compile anything that's in there. And the preprocessor, which is the first step in the compiler, will open up any header files we decided to include and just copy all of the stuff right into our CPP file, as if we typed it all up right over here. But we don't really see that happening. That happens behind the scenes. So once the preprocessor finished loading up all the different header files into the source files, the compiler comes into play and will start compiling all the different CPP files and make a separate object file out of each one. And as we learned later on, the linker comes along and turns all that into a .exe file, which is the actual final program.